All right, so I went to go see the Odyssey. The first thing I really liked was the sound, not just the score, but also how they use sound throughout the movie. In my opinion, you could feel sound in almost everything. You could feel it in the water, the gods, all around. The ambiance was just filled with sound that would enter you. Sounds odd. Anyway, like you could feel your body vibrating, or at least that's how it was in the theater. At one point, I could feel my like heart beating with the sound, and it's really cool. They did the non-linear story of the Odyssey very well within this movie. I like how we see Odysseus's hubris and leadership, as well as that which haunts him. I will say I would have liked to see a little bit more of his cleverness. I do think they did that well, but I think the other two they did well, which is different than what other people have to say about it. As well as that it was really grotesque in some scenes. Like where we see the Cyclops. I actually talk about that right now. I'll say the Cyclops and where the witch turns his men into pigs. But let me speak of the Cyclops. So people were really disappointed that we didn't get the no one scene, as that was a big point of where Odysseus shows his hubris and that he wants his name known. You know, he has his cleverness to tell the Cyclops that no one is killing him, but then he also goes back and says, you know, this is Odysseus who has killed you, which angers Poseidon. He does shoot him with an arrow to say like I could have felled that enemy, but I also don't want my men to die type of thing. He still has his pride, but he's also a leader. Another thing, the Argus scene really hit for me. Like that's I've talked about it before, but that is one of my favorite scenes um from the Odyssey, and it's one I constantly think about. It was very quick, which makes sense because it's a movie. It's one you do in one sitting, so you not everything can be put in, or at least for long periods of time. So I'm glad they still put it in. Sad if they didn't. It is a good showing of loyalty and recognition and reputation within the story, although it was quick in the movie. I'm not gonna lie, that end scene, it reminded me of Rambo. It was really well choreographed fighting. It felt intense, it looked intense, and then at the end, to see everyone bowing to him and the music playing was so nice. Speaking of music, there was this one song, I believe it's called Odysseus, when they enter the when they enter Troy after his great plan playing. It reminded me of a song from the Chronicles of Narnia. It's called Narnia Lullaby. I'll put both of them down below, but I just thought that was an interesting and how their vibes were very similar. Other than the no one scene, another thing that I saw which people had a problem with was Odysseus' character himself. People were not happy that he was turned into this sort of veteran warrior with PTSD, um, who kind of regrets what he did in Troy. I personally don't think this is entirely true. They do sort of say that, you know, he has broken Zeus's law in the movie, and that's why he feels this way, because now that makes an opening for Zeus's law to never be respected again. And that reasoning would be good had Zeus punished himself. Um, but Zeus doesn't punish him for breaking Xenia. So if Zeus is not punishing him for the breaking of Xenia, for sending the horse into Troy, then I don't see that as a good point. What I will say is that you can have pride in winning a war, but you can still hate how you won it. He was gifting this horse to the Trojans. It was a very clever plan. You know, it really shows, you know, what type of character Odysseus is. But he can still regret that he kind of broke that sacred bond between gift and receiver. You know, it was sort of sacrilege to Troy to use the horse to get in. And then to see that your plan led to this massacre of Troy. He has hubris in the victory. He was there. They were there on that beach for 10 years trying to find some way to defeat the Trojans, and they finally did. He is then regretful of his actions. I think it is a bit of a miss commentary to say it was completely missing hubris when he had hubris in the movie. But I will also say, saying that you have broken Zeus's law between gift and receiver isn't necessarily true because Zeus himself did not punish him. If anything, the gods thought that act was very clever. I don't think Odyssey, the Odyssey was completely removed from the hubris of the original story. Um, but I also think they did use Xenia as a kind of blanket term or Zeus's law when that's not why Odysseus was punishing himself. He wasn't punishing himself because he had broken Zeus's sacred law. He was more so punishing himself for his own actions. Overall, it was a good movie. I do think there's some missed commentary with that one thing, although I will agree that, it could have been done better or explained differently. I also think this movie does a really good job of showing his character, and his hubris and his leadership while missing some of the cleverness. Um, yeah, those are my thoughts on the Odyssey. Peace out and bye.